State Senator Mays Middleton. Welcome back to East Texas Now. How you doing?
I'm great, Michael. Thank you for having me on here today. It feels like being home. I married a born and raised Tyler girl. Macy's right over here. Our kids are right over here. All the in-laws still live here in Smith County, and it feels like home.
Anything stopping you from moving here from Galveston?
Hey, it's always in the cards. I'm not going to say no.
Well,
I love East Texas, and especially East Texas values the hills, the lakes, the pine trees. It's incredible.
It is beautiful. But let's talk about that primary where you finished first with 39% of the vote, while Congressman Chip Roy came in second with about 32%, forcing a runoff between the two of you. What are you doing now to appeal to voters who may not have sided with you in March?
So look, I'm all over the state. Yesterday I was in Corsicana. Today I'm in Tyler, of course. I was in Houston earlier. I'll be in McAllen and Austin later. I am traveling every single corner of the state and earning every last vote. And I'll tell you, this is a fight for the future of our country, the fight for a future of Texas, because we are under attack. And the thing that matters the most, whether it's the AG's role or anything else, is defeating the left. And that's exactly what I have the experience doing. And I'll tell you, on March the 3rd, I think Chip Roy's record of fighting President Trump, opposing him for over a decade, caught up to him. And you know, it's funny when politicians like Chip Roy and Liz Cheney are surprised when their record of fighting the president comes back to haunt them. And I believe that's exactly what happened. I mean, this is someone, look, he gave a speech on the House floor in Congress. And he said President Trump committed impeachable conduct. Not only that, he said he sided with Liz Cheney and that she needed to be commended and not condemned. And we even saw something come out just yesterday where Liz Cheney endorsed Chip Roy for a leadership role in Congress.
I do want to ask you, Congressman Chip Roy has criticized you for what he says is a lack of experience in you trying to buy the seat. Your response to that?
Well, let's talk about Chip Roy here. He did work in the AG's office. And you know what he was told? You can resign or be fired. And I don't know about you, but when I tell someone that, I don't let them back in the building. And what matters the most here is making sure our conservative values are put into action. And that's what I've done. This is a show me, don't tell me business. For 7 years, I've been writing these laws, drafting these laws, defending them on the House floor against Democrat attorneys, defending them on the Senate floor against Democrat attorneys. Who better to enforce these laws as Attorney General than some of those already defeating the left and getting these over the finish line? And not only that, this is a leadership role. This is a 4,000 employee agency. This is 750 attorneys. You got to have someone that knows how to sign the front of a paycheck and knows where the buck stops. And I've got that executive level experience. And I'll point this out as well. Ken Paxton, 2013, right? The reason why we supported him was not because he was a civil attorney like I am. He was a corporate lawyer, tax law as well. He was a general counsel at some point. That's not why we supported him. We supported him because he had that proven conservative record. He was the top 1 or 2 most conservative members in the Texas Senate, as I am as well. And look, he's not in the courtroom every day. And you know why not? Because he's busy leading. You got to hire the very best talent to execute and deliver these victories for Texas, like the Ten Commandments victory we had the other day. That's why this is on my lapel right now. That was a huge victory before our Fifth Circuit to make sure that 10 Commandments are on the wall of every single classroom in the great state of Texas, because kids need to know God's law. It's that simple.
Well, I was going to ask you about that lapel, but you beat me to it. But going off of that last response, would it be fair to say you see yourself as a continuation of Attorney General Ken Paxton?
I'm absolutely going to continue the fight for conservative values as he has. And look, this is a calling for me. This is not a job. I don't take the salary. I don't take the pension. I don't take the health care. I don't take the state license plate. I don't take the lobbyist NFL tickets. I don't take the lobbyist ski trips. Like our president, I am only here to serve and fight for the conservative values that we believe in. And I can't be bought or rented. The Austin swamp cannot get to me, and that is why they're fighting to stop me from getting elected to the Attorney General's office, because they know I will put Texas first and I will put our conservative values first every day. That is what I've been doing for the past 7 years, and that's why I've always been ranked as the top 1 or 2 most conservative members in the House and was chairman of the Freedom Caucus. And Same way in the Senate. Top 1 or 2 most conservative members there as well.
That Ten Commandments ruling you referred to earlier, I believe that was the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Were you surprised when you saw that news that came down?
I wasn't surprised. And the reason why is because I know that our arguments were fantastic. William, who is the Solicitor General at the AG's office, he actually made a great case. He said, look, people are not being compelled to read this. He's a Solicitor General, William Peterson. He said, look, children don't have to read this on the wall. And what is harmful about it, by the way? Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, honor thy mother, thy father, don't kill. Right? These are the things that children need to learn in school. That's why I fought for prayer in public school as well. And the left says that this is harmful. This is harmful to display the Ten Commandments in classrooms. Which part? These are the same people that said it's fine to have pornography and obscene materials and have Pride Week for kindergartners or even men and boys and little girls' restrooms and locker rooms. I mean, this is the spiritual battle that we're in right now because they are coming for our children. The left is coming for our kids.
I do want to ask you, what would you say to folks who feel that teaching something like the Ten Commandments is something that's better served for the home or for church rather than the public classroom?
There is no such thing as separation of church and state. That is a lie that is told by the left, and it's designed to throttle Christians and stop them from being bold in their faith. And that was only in a letter from Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist. And what we are built on is our Constitution, right? And as it says in the preamble of the Texas Constitution, humbly invoking the blessings of Almighty God. That's a prayer. Right, and the role of the AG, the role of the Attorney General is there to protect and defend those God-granted freedoms because we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. And I am here to protect and defend life, liberty, property, those God-granted freedoms that are enumerated in our Constitution and protected by our Constitution.
How important do you view the democratic institutions in this country? Because you mentioned, you don't feel we're a democracy, constitutional republic.
We are a constitutional republic.
So what are your thoughts on the democratic institutions in this country then?
Well, Democrats are trying to destroy this country, if that's what you're talking about, because look at this. These are the same people that tried to steal the election in 2020. We've talked about this before. We know this. They did it to President Trump, and they will do it again. Yes, there is evidence.
No evidence to suggest
there is absolutely evidence.
Of fraud in the 2020
and that's the difference
election.
between myself and Chip Roy, is he fought to certify a stolen election in 2020, and now he wants to run the Election Integrity Division in the Attorney General's office. I don't think so.
What's your specific evidence to suggest there was an amount of people who voted illegally that would have overturned the results of the election?
Well, when there's fraud, it's an attempt to conceal, as you know. And we sent attorneys to Pennsylvania. I was chairman of the Freedom Caucus. Briscoe Cain was one of them. Mike Garcia was our executive director. And we found evidence where they were literally telling people the machine that Republicans vote on is broken. Hey, mark it here with your golf pencil, knowing that could invalidate a vote.
How many people voted illegally in the 2020 election?
One illegal vote is one illegal vote too many, because one illegal vote cancels out your legal vote. And this is why I have fought for election integrity. This is why I authored legislation in the Texas House and the Senate to make sure that only legally qualified citizens are voting, to make sure that we had voter ID for absentee ballots and in person, to make sure that we're prosecuting those that are paid voter assistance, like Beto O'Rourke was doing, helping people fill out their absentee ballot application and then harvesting it later. Those are the things that I fought to stop. That is the law in Texas. But step two is very important, right? They took away the power of the Attorney General to prosecute in 2021. The Court of Criminal Appeals did. I fought to restore that because we know this as well. George Soros elected district attorneys will not prosecute voter fraud. That's why that power in the AG's office is so important as a backup.
But again, I'll ask you one more time. How many people voted illegally, specifically in a certain state, a certain county, in the 2020 election?
I don't know how much fraud was committed, but there was plenty of fraud.
You don't have an answer. Affordability has been a big topic of discussion this election, with prices rising on groceries and gas. What, if anything, can the Attorney General's office do to make life more affordable for Texans?
So one of the things that we've seen again and again, of course, is property taxes. Government doesn't have any money. It's all taxpayer money. And one of the best ways to save taxpayer money is cutting the waste and the fraud and the abuse. I'm tired of just talking about that. We need to hold those accountable that have committed the waste and the fraud and the abuse. And I want to start an anti-corruption division in the AG's office devoted to going after exactly that. A lot of this, of course, is these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations. We saw it with USAID, but it's across the board here. And I want to make sure to prosecute those that are doing this. Those that are stealing taxpayer money have to be held accountable. Of course, we've seen it in the blue counties as well with Harris County. I represent part of that in the Texas Senate right now. It's one of the worst actors in this. But $1 stolen is one too many, right? Because those are your dollars. Those are your tax dollars that are being stolen here.
Just to go off of what you just said, where exactly is taxpayer money being stolen in your view in Texas?
I'll give you one example. Taxpayer-funded lobbying. $100 million a year of your tax dollars are levied and sent to liberal Austin lobbyists to oppose election integrity, to oppose border security, to oppose property tax relief and reform, even to oppose the Women's Privacy Act, which I authored. That's $100 million of waste, fraud, and abuse just right there. Also, here's another good example. Food stamps. We all know the food stamp program is rife with waste, fraud, and abuse. So I fought to change the law and did to kick soda and candy out of the food stamp program. The purpose of that program is supposed to be nutritious food essential to health and well-being. Well, we know soda and candy is not nutritious food essential to health and well-being. And so this will save over $1 billion a year in taxpayer money that is not going to the very foods that are making us sick and turning taxpayer-funded junk food into taxpayer-funded health care, which was what was happening before.
So where is there fraud you feel in the food assistance program, and how much exactly?
We've seen it with the cards. There's a large number that's spent out of state.
Would you happen to know how much?
I don't have the exact number. The last time I looked, it was over $100 million, which is a significant amount.
The Attorney General's Office, Child Support Division, big topic. Anything you'd like to see done to change that?
That is one of the most important divisions in the AG's office. And look, I'll point this out. One of my top priorities has always been protecting Texas kids. Right? My 4 little ones Macy and I are blessed with 3 boys, 1 little girl. They're here right now, today. And that's my daily reminder of what we're fighting for here, and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. But let me draw a difference here on this, on protecting kids. I fought to ban the evil practice of child transgender surgeries. That was a Freedom Caucus priority. It took us about 4 years to get that done. It failed multiple times. And we finally got it done in 2023, and it doesn't just ban the surgeries. It bans the gender-modifying drugs, those puberty blockers that permanently sterilize children. Well, there was a law, a bill, before Congress in the U.S. House, and what did Chip Roy do? He tried to offer an amendment that would have allowed these evil surgeries to continue. Frankly, what that would have done is rewarded the transgender lobby, rewarded the Gavin Newsoms of the world, and he had this states' rights argument, this Commerce Clause argument. And look, this is really simple. There is no right to harm a child. And I am here to end all evil, not just taxpayer-funded evil.
I do want to ask you, you've used the term MAGA maze throughout the campaign. In our last interview, you also said you did not foresee disagreeing with the Trump administration. You also mentioned your belief that the 2020 election, there was a lot of fraud. Those positions may concern some voters, particularly Democratic ones in this state. So how much of a priority is it for you to appeal to those voters in the general election if you win this runoff?
Well, let me back up. President Trump is the greatest president we have ever had. He fights for America every day. He loves this country. They have tried to kill him multiple times because of that. And he has called me a MAGA champion. President Trump also said my conservative record is second to none. And my former primary opponent, Aaron Reitz, he has endorsed me in this race. And the first thing that he said, the first reason why he said he endorsed me, is he knows I will back up President Trump and use every resource and tool to defend that America First agenda and make sure we're doing things like deporting illegal immigrants, making sure we're doing things like defending our border, because this is about putting our country first.
If you do not end up winning in this runoff, Do you plan on making an endorsement in this race, and if so, who?
I will 100% support 100% of our Republican nominees going in the fall. We've got to unite together, and that's a message that the Lieutenant Governor has repeated as well. I'm proud to have Dan Patrick's endorsement in this race as well. We are in this together because, look, the left is coming for us, and that is another distinction, too, between myself and Chip Roy. It's not just talking about it. It's actually doing it. So there is a reason why I am the only one in this race that's been protested at the Texas Capitol during this campaign. They had these big, ugly green signs with my face on it, and they called me the bathroom bigot. Why? Because I don't want men in my little girl's restroom or locker room or shower. Also, the two Democrats in this race, Joe Jaworski and Nathan Johnson, they had a big debate, right? And they were going back and forth. And they said, the guy we got to stop in this race, the guy we cannot allow to get elected is MAGA Mays. Now, Nathan backed that up again, and he said the reason why he couldn't allow that, and he won't because he won't win, is because he knows I'll back up the president. Well, you're darn right. And there's also a reason why they've threatened me, threatened family. So the reason why they protested me, the reason why the two Democrats in this race are saying I'm the one to stop, the reason why they've threatened me is the left knows who their true enemy is in this race, and it's because I'm already defeating them.
How would your office, what would be your approach to working, with those who may disagree with you on a certain stance?
Well, I love Texas. Look, we're in this together here. And I want to make sure that the very same things that our founding fathers fought for in 1836, right? We just had their anniversary, April the 21st, 1836. That's where we won it all at the Battle of San Jacinto, and it was against a lot of odds. I'll tell you that, too, because everyone had died at the Alamo. Everyone had been killed at Goliad as well, and massacred, actually. And despite all that, despite the odds, they stormed into the battlefield that day, and they risked it all. We've got that same grit and persistence in us here today as Texans, and I'm never retreating from Washington, D.C., because I'm never going to Washington, D.C. I have always known that the fight is here. And it's the same thing, the same values that our founding fathers fought for in 1836, and it's those same values that's leading people to move to Texas because they believe in our state and they believe in the values that we were founded on, but we cannot allow them to go away and be destroyed, not just by the left, by communists, by the Islamists, by Sharia law. We have to stop all of this.
You have called Sharia law a huge threat to Texas. Why?
Sharia law is organized crime, period. It's that simple. And this is not a religious liberties issue. This is not a First Amendment issue, because if they faithfully adhere to their ideology in the Quran, it says they can commit jihad against the infidel. That is America First issue. That is a national security issue. And that is why I am the only one in this Attorney General's race that has changed the law to stop Islamification and to stop Sharia law. Number one example of that is making it a crime to enforce Sharia law in Texas. That is a second-degree felony. It's got to be enforced. Number two, these no-go zones.
So your argument is that other people are having a parallel legal system in Texas.
That's exactly right.
So, and I was bringing this up with Congressman Roy. I want to get your response. If someone does something, that's against the Texas Constitution, for example, or the Constitution of the United States, and it's illegal, they're going to be prosecuted for it. So why mention, this parallel legal system when if someone does something illegal, there's going to be consequences for it?
Well, it's the same reason we have a very important provision already in the government code. It's been there since 1993 against seditious organizations. Now, why would we put that there? To protect Texas and protect America. And what does that say? It bans seditious organizations, and it defines them as something that is attempting to undermine our constitutional republic by force or by threat of force. What does that sound like? That sounds like CAIR and Muslim Brotherhood to me. So what does it allow us to do when they're designated as such? Number one, dissolve them. Number two, prohibit them from doing business in Texas. And number three, sell their assets, right? So these are the three tools. Additionally, another law I fought for this session, Senate Bill 17, that has already been invoked by Governor Abbott. And that's not just stopping foreign enemy countries like China from buying our land. It's stopping enemy entities like CAIR and Muslim Brotherhood. So that prohibits these radical Muslim groups from owning any property in Texas. Those are the two that have been designated as such already. We need to designate more, and as soon as that happens, they are not allowed to own any property in our great state, and it allows, and I will do exactly this, the AG to bring an action to force them to sell.
What would be your response to those, particularly in the Muslim community, who may fear, the words you use, that it could lead to an increased, demonization of their community here in Texas?
It's simple. You got to follow the law. Sharia law is organized crime. It is banned in Texas, and the law needs to be enforced. We cannot have a parallel system. We are a constitutional republic. We will always be. If we ever lose that, we will be destroyed.
The May 26 runoff is coming up in just a couple of days, 2 weeks from the time of this interview. Is there anything I did not ask you, Senator Middleton, that you would like to add?
Well, I appreciate you having me on today. Love being in East Texas, love being in Tyler, seeing all the in-laws. Family loves being up here. I'm here a lot for Thanksgiving and Christmas and other holidays. But look, in my heart, at the end of the day, this is a fight for Texas. This is why I'm in this, to protect and defend her against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And it is a tough fight. It's a hard fight. And I know at the end of the day that if we lose this state, we lose this whole country. And that's why it's so important, is because we don't have another Texas to move to. And there is a huge difference in the judgment between Chip Roy and myself. Right? This is someone that has spent a decade undermining the president, a decade fighting against the conservative agenda, a decade doing things like siding with the transgender lobby against, say, the RPT, legislative priorities. It's protecting Texas children. They condemn that. A decade siding with Liz Cheney and doing all of these things that conservatives did not elect any Republican to do. That is the problem here, is he does not represent our values. And he's doing one thing and saying another, right? Again and again and again and again. And you cannot trust his judgment. He thinks we're dumb, and all of a sudden he's pretending to be pro-Trump. We all know better. We also know that Trump derangement syndrome is incurable. No one's ever been cured.
Republican candidate for Texas Attorney General, State Senator Middleton. Sir, we appreciate you coming on the program again.
I appreciate you having me on today, Michael.